This is a continuation of my last video, so if you want to put the content of this video to use, you may want to watch the first one first. Alright, I want to get into how you can make a determination of whether you're protected under fair use. Now, it's important to make clear here that I'm not interested in YouTube's policies. Those are something that they set and they created with very little regard to what the law says. YouTube's motives are to protect their ability to profit. They are not interested in upholding the law, protecting the little guy, stuff like that. So I'm going to be focusing on the law itself, copyright law, and how you can determine whether what you're doing falls into fair use or falls under copyright infringement. And another disclaimer quick, there's nothing in fair use that gives you inalienable rights or protects you from being sued. Someone that holds copyright on a work that you have used can sue you. Fair use is a defense in that case. That is, you cannot prevent them from suing you from using their work. However, fair use may protect you, may help you defend yourself against the suit. So if your primary interest is to avoid being sued, just don't use anybody else's artwork. However, if you see the value in creating derivative artworks, these are the 4 factors that are going to determine whether you can defend yourself with fair use or not. The judge is going to look at these four points and how they relate to your case before making a decision. So let's go through these. Purpose and character of use. What is your intent in using a portion of someone else's creation? Things that are not protected under fair use are a desire to share, profit. If you're trying to profit, you're not going to be protected under this. What is protected is advancing knowledge or progressing the arts, that is, teaching and informing. And also parody is another broad use that's protected here. Obviously, if you want to make fun of a specific creation, it's helpful to use that creation in part of your critique. It's important to see the distinction between parody and satire, however. Parody pokes fun at a specific use, therefore it's a specific creation. Therefore, it's quite important to be able to use the original creation when making fun of it. Satire, however, is commentary on society as a whole. And so using someone's creation for the purpose of satire isn't as well protected, because you could likely use other works of art or create your own as a way to criticize aspects of society. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. Nature of the source. The next thing they're going to look at is the original work itself. The intent behind that, the form, and the content. The simplest distinguisher here is fiction versus nonfiction. And again, these are each like a scale. If something is nonfiction, if the source you're using is nonfiction, that is, it deals with factual events, fair use is going to weigh more in your favor. If, however, it's fiction, that is, if someone has put time and creativity into developing something that is more out of imagination than the real world, you're not going to be protected under fair use. They're going to have a stronger claim that you're infringing their copyright. That's a simple example. Another aspect of this is the transformative nature, which kind of falls between several of these. But if you're transforming the original enough, you're going to be more protected. Even if, and that can apply in quality as well as quantity. No. What I'm trying to say is two different types of quality. Quality of form versus quality of content. If you're changing the meaning, it's going to weigh more in your favor. Also, if you're changing the quality, the best example is thumbnails. The use of thumbnail images is protected under fair use because by reducing the resolution of an image, you're turning it into an intent to reference rather than an intent to reproduce. And again, it gets fuzzy between these overlap, but they're going to look at the source and the nature of the source. A good example of this is the Zapruder film, which showed the assassination of JFK. The film itself was purchased by a company and protected under copyright law. A book publisher wanted to include 3 frames for the purposes of commentary. The court ruled in favor of the book publisher because the content of the film, being of importance within the public sphere because it was the assassination of a president, outweighed the form of the film. That is, the fact that it was a recorded document that was owned under copyright laws. Okay, this one is actually probably the weakest of the 4. That is, when they're weighing these 4 against each other, it's going to have the smallest effect. So let's move on. 3, amount and substantiality of portion used. Amount referring to how much did you take from the original. If you took the entire original, you're going to have a weaker defense under fair use. If you just used a sliver, that is a few words from an essay, a few bars from music, a brief segment or portion, you're much better protected. Substantiality, that gets more into how much are you adding to what you took. How much of your own content and creativity are you putting into it? If you take from a source and add nothing to it, you're going to have a very weak claim under copyright law. However, if you put a lot of new content, creation, etc., you're going to have a much better defense. Okay, effect on marketability. This might be the strongest of these now. The whole point of copyright law was to protect a creator's ability to profit from their own creation. Therefore, if you're infringing upon their ability to sell their product, then you don't have a claim under fair use. If you're competing directly, if you're taking part of their market share, you don't have a good defense. If, however, what you're doing doesn't affect their ability to profit, then you're better protected under fair use. And a good example of this is the LA Times versus Free Republic. Free Republic was a web page that was reproducing articles from the LA Times in their entirety online. And the court ruled that even though it was transformative in nature, in that they're not, trying to sell papers to compete with papers, it's apples and oranges. But because viewing these articles online might impact the LA Times' ability to sell their paper form because the content's the same. They were not protected under fair use. So again, it was transformative in nature, but still impacted the marketability of the original. Okay. So let me check my time. Shit. I'm over. Let me do a third video.